we have decided to make this today's event a format where there is a lot of interaction and very little in terms of formality. So a very brief introduction of the two honorable ministers on the stage, and then we'll go straight into the interaction piece. The format of today's event will be that you will be allowed to ask questions, provide your suggestions, whatever that you want to provide, and the Honorable Finance Minister or the Honorable Health Minister will address those questions in the form of their remarks after a while. So they won't be taking one question after another, but they will note down whatever questions you have and suggestions, and then they will address it all at once. So without any further ado, I would like to briefly introduce the Honorable Finance Minister. Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji has a distinguished career in public service. She was, of many things, the first full-time women defense minister and the first full-time woman finance minister of India. During her tenure as the defense minister, the Balakot airstrike was one of her key achievements, something that was very bold step taken by our government. Apart from that, Bangalore is very close to her heart. She has close ties to Bangalore. She has been passionate about urban civic issues. In fact, she helped to rejuvenate the Kalina Agrahara Lake starting from 2017. She played a major role in that out of her personal interest. She's also always had these type of informal interactions with citizens of Bangalore. She has often just come down and had informal lunches with volunteers. I have, in fact, been part of some of those. So she's always been close to the heart of Bangalore, and today we are glad to have her with us. The Honorable Health Minister, Dr. Sudhakar ji, he was sworn in 2019 as the youngest cabinet minister in the government. He has also had an illustrious career. And it was under his leadership that Karnataka was one of the states that performed remarkably well in the face of COVID. So it's credit to his leadership that we have gotten there. Without any further ado, I'd like to first request you to please raise your hand if you have any questions. We'll first give an opportunity to the attendees from the RWA event. Sir, please, you can go ahead and ask your question. One quick request, because there are a lot of you and there's a lot of interaction that has to happen today. We request you to be brief. In whatever suggestion or question you have, you can be brief.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir, and good evening all the gents and ladies available here. Ma'am, this is a request from the RWA point of view that as we are the non-profit organizations, RWA, I'm talking about, and we are the most people who generally pay the tax on time, and on top of that, for running the business, running the maintenance of the RWAs, we have to put the GST clause also on top of it, and there is a slab of 7,500 rupees as well. So my sincere request to you that if we can take it to the GST Council and we can just exempt us from that particular point, that will be great to all of the RWAs societies.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Veena Shantaram Prabhu. I have come all the way from Mangalore to have an interaction with you. I have been facing a few problems in my apartment, wherein the apartment association, who was claiming an amount of between 10,000 to 25,000, since I didn't bow and bulge to their demands, they have disconnected the current to my apartment, and I'm living without current for the last 5 years. I wish you would interfere in this matter and help me get out of this. If I have not paid some amount, they could have gone to the court to recover this amount. I think we have good laws in place as far as apartment and courts are concerned. Instead of doing that, they have gone ahead doing gundaism, and they have disconnected the current to my apartment. The builder in turn has a lot of things to do. He left the project halfway. He has to pay us a 5 crore plus amount, which is due to be paid to the association. That has not been concentrated on. They could have gone and disconnected the current to his apartment, since the amount of 5 crores is more and 25,000 is just a bare minimum. But they resorted to disconnection of my current rather than concentrating on the builder. Ma'am, being a BJP in power in Karnataka. I wish you would interfere into this
Madam,
matter
I'm
and have
sorry
it
to
solved.
interrupt you.
Thank you so much.
You please give me your representation, since it is a personal,
Yes,
issue.
sir, I will do that.
But we will definitely
I
address to it.
have brought the representation, but since I have traveled all the way from Mangalore, I wanted to present
we'll
it myself.
definitely address to it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Uh,
sir.
But going forward, I request the guests, to speak anything about public in large, any issues which concern the public and the civic communities, or any issues that pertaining to your sector that you represent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dear Madam and Sir, I am Anil Kalgi from Bangalore City Flat Owners Welfare Association. Our organization is a very small organization but spread across Karnataka. Actually, to look into the issues that apartment buyers and the home dwellers are facing across the state. So some of the point I would like to place to you, some to be addressed from the central government, that is which comes actually under your department, and some comes to under the state as such. Madam, I would like to bring here actually property is a land and the building only. When a person purchases a home loan, on the flat a lien is created, but not on the property. Now this is being exploited by the builder community to the greater extent. Even one I would like to bring to your kind notice what I have heard. One of the apartment complex, income tax department has confiscated the property in Bangalore, where 2,000 apartments have been sold and people are living, they are unaware of it. Now, how the income tax department can able to recover that money? Because the land is in the name of the promoter, it continues, and the income tax department is attaching the property. Absolutely, the apartment owners are at a stake. This is one lacuna in the law where it is creating. I think that the central government should address this matter. Under the income tax, it should be either in the property where it is being done. Now what is happening in case of, now let me put to you, madam.
No, wait a minute.
I'll come to that.
I've asked you one specific question. Which law?
The property law, when it is being sold apartment,
Property law has nothing to do with me. I hear you still.
under income tax, if that is the case.
It can't be property law and income tax.
Because the property is being attached.
Never mind, you'll give me your reference.
Yeah, I will give it to you, madam. Now what is happening in this case is most of the bankers are going for equitable mortgage. That is deposit of the title deed. It is not creating a lien on the property as such. Now this is where the people are getting a repeated mortgage and it is going on. And some of the institution, in fact, it has been brought to your notice. That is Ozona Urbana. Now I'll finish it, sir.
Yeah.
It's
Please,
not
please,
the
just
thing.
very briefly, please.
And secondly,
Request
just
everyone,
one-
sir,
one
just
one declaration as a tax entity, your PAN card is being issued. On the strength of the PAN card, banks are opening the account and such organization claim as a body corporate and disturb. And what madam was telling, she is a victim of crime. Now this is where, how can we able to address this? Kindly look into it.
Wait a minute. You have a lot of important issues, I grant it. They're complex issues, they're not just black and white. If you're telling me that you have something in common with that lady there, I'm sorry, it'll be actually against the association itself. Does the association have the right to cut off? Let me ask you that question back again. So let's not get into the details you're giving me. Is per law the RWA empowered enough to connect, disconnect? So you don't please suddenly
That is
find
unno-
association.
unregistered
Hold on,
association.
gentlemen, hold on. You don't just find association because they are both housing related. It'll actually go against you. You're representing a housing association. Somebody similar to you is offending her. So don't find quick companionship there. Huh? But if you have a paper into which you've gone into the details of your issue, which has a lot more complex matters, please give it to the organizers.
Yeah,
to
yes,
the
sir.
organizers.
Yeah.
To the organizers. He's not the organizer. He's the minister. I'm not offended, but yet, I'm not offended,
No,
but
one-
yet, I wouldn't be in a position to get into the details of all that you're saying unless I go through the paper in its fullness and understand every, calibration that is there in it or every overlap that is there in it. So while I'll welcome you getting into the details, I completely feel disabled to comment on it. Before I read your paper, I can't even comment. So nobody gets offended, but it'll not also be realistic on your part to expect me to answer having not even seen the paper. So pardon me for that, but give the paper, we'll definitely have a look at it.
Now, one quick request again, as we reiterated in the beginning, be brief. And if many of you may have brought representations, we will happily receive your representations at the end of this event. You can just briefly mention your issue or question, please.
Namaskaram.
Also happens to be the convener of the manifesto committee. Can you guarantee better caliber of representation in forthcoming BBMP election for Bangalore City? Some of the finest brains in the country, most creative minds in the country, most enterprising personality in the country, they are all citizens of Bangalore. And what kind of representation we are getting in BBMP, Dr. Sudhakar? Can your party assure in the next election at least 50% of the seats shall be given to fairly educated, well-informed, and totally dedicated cadre of candidates? Otherwise, we are ruled by mafias. Semi-literate or illiterate mafias are ruling Bangalore City. We deserve a better deal. These two are my requests.
Fully sympathetic to your point. Not just sympathetic, I think you have a strong case.
Yes, ma'am.
Because RERA was definitely a very reformatory step.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. RERA was a very progressive, forward-looking
Yes.
step, keeping in mind the home buyers, and probably to an extent also keeping in mind the builders and their, if I can use the word loosely,
Yes.
legitimacy.
Yes.
So it was meant to protect and authenticate builders as much as protect the buyers. It has now caused a lot of difficulty, particularly in a place like Bengaluru, where apartments are becoming part of most people's lives.
Yes.
I take your point.
Yes.
I won't promise anything on behalf of the state's manifesto committee, in which I'm not a member, but I'll certainly put that across to them.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I am Ravindra Reshme. I'm a senior journalist and retired professor of botany. Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Vikram Rai. I'm the General Secretary of Bangalore Apartments Federation. First of all, thank you. We are a collective of 1,200 resident welfare associations in the city of Bangalore. Thank you so much for this opportunity and time. Thank you, sir, for your opportunity as well. I won't go into too much of details. Ma'am, we have put together a charter of requests that we have compiled together in a concise form. I'll hand it over to the team. But just to take on from the input which a couple of my colleagues over here extended, in the last 10 years, I think in Bangalore, we know that there has been 10 to 15 years, there's been a massive growth of population and the city is creaking. But it's also this population which has come together to give the image of Bangalore what it is, right? Many of my colleagues who are staying, and a lot of them stay in apartments. So the apartment format has sort of supported the great growing need of housing in this city. But I think the identity to do that as a collaborator, partner to the government and to work together has not yet been accordingly. My humble request, not going into details, is that in the next dispensation, whenever that happens, that the RWS and the associations are accorded that identity in law as well as in practice to be able to engage more actively so that there is a lot more collaboration which can happen and issues and concerns can be sorted more in an integrated fashion. Of course, that's something which can be thought through and in a little bit more detail. We have a bunch of things that we have put together over here, which comprises laws, civic agencies, all the other infrastructure that we think that might be of impact, and we'll be happy to, Puneet, hand it over to him. But thank you so much, ma'am. We'll hope to interact more on that in the future as well.
I'll just take this opportunity to say that in 2019, two major housing issues went to the Supreme Court. And I'm sure most of you are aware of it. I think it was JP and Amrapali. Of course, both Delhi and neighborhood areas, NCR areas. But post that, when very many flat buyers approached the government and said, look, we're all left high and dry, we have not got our flats, we are paying the EMI for our loans, but also paying rents. Do something about it. The projects are incomplete. The builder is to be found nowhere. We don't know how to go about it. That's when Government of India and many delegations went to the PM, and in one of the two cases, the Supreme Court also came up with a guidance, not a verdict per se, but guidance to the Government of India to see if NBCC could take up the project and complete it, and so on. So at that time in 2019, there was just a lot of concern about all over the country where projects were stalled, not just in metropolitan India. And when we came up with the single window for completion of projects, and I'm glad to say more than 180,000 flat owners, the number may be more, not less, have been finally given their apartment keys after completion of the projects through the government funded project, which through the SBI caps raised more money from the market and was able to fund all those incomplete projects. Why am I talking about it now? The homeowners and apartment buyers, the kind of problems they get into unknowingly, have all been in the minds of the Prime Minister from 2019, and now we've been very seriously devising ways in which there can be relief given to the apartment buyers, largely all of whom are middle class. They really can't afford to have rent also paid, EMI also paid, but not having possession of their properties. So I'm sure the suggestions which are coming from you all today will be both seen by the state party and us. We are not talking in terms of any party or otherwise, but it is certainly important that these issues are being brought to our notice, and I'll certainly attend to it.
Namaskaram, Sudhakar avare or Nirmala avare. Thank you for this session. My name is Vamsi Krishna. So I would like to ask the same point which Mr. Vikram has mentioned, that there would be, like RERA has brought more clarity into the real estate, who are the buyers, all the legal definitions. It will be really helpful if both state and the central governments could come up with a thing which defines RWAs, what powers they can do, what they cannot do, because there's so much gray area. It's up to the interpretation of the people. So I would request that. And one more additional point I would request is local governance is something I think which would really help at a level where we can participate. There are a lot of issues I see, but I don't know how to address. So strengthening the local bodies. I think, Madam, your ministry has some incentives through urban local bodies giving to states to implement on certain schemes. But a more generic reform, if both the central and the state governments can look at it, Bangalore as a city will really benefit, because there are a lot of individuals who would want to contribute into the civic part of it, and they don't know where to go to have their voices heard. Thank you, Madam.
Good evening, Madam. I'm raising this as a woman entrepreneur. I'm very happy that Bangalore is the second largest metro next to Delhi. But as a woman chartered accountant, when we go to clients' places, the last mile connectivity is still missing. Though there are, in major metros it is there, frequency needs to be enhanced. So probably the government can work upon that. That's one request. Second, as a chartered accountant, I am the Vice President of Karnataka CA Association. There are many professionals, because of COVID and other eventualities, they lost their life. Of course, majority of them are financially well placed, but still there are few chartered accountants who have lost their life. So probably, of course, our ICA, our mother body is also supporting them in the form of fund. But if there can be any soft landing fund in terms of to take care of the livelihood from government side, it would be of great help. Thank you, ma'am.
Quickly.
Yeah. First of all, thanks to central government and state government, because vaccination, I'm able to speak to you in front of you today. As a SME, I'm a trader. My point is to our finance minister, transaction charges which we supposed to pay when we transact from the purchaser seller 50 lakhs. I think this, because already we are online total. Everything is in online. I think GST's collection is good. You might have put for the barricades to know trading is happening correctly or not. But 50 lakhs purchasing, selling is becoming nowadays is very little. So it has become cumbersome to upload every month. I think in this regard, we should get rid of that law in future. That is my point. Thank you.
Good evening, madam. I'm a chartered accountant. My name is Anil. I'm representing, heading the finance for daycare center called CLAY. It is one of the leading daycare center in India. Here the issue is, daycare is generally a neglected area in India. It is not having any big organized sector. So especially during the COVID also, there was it not came under essential product, and it was literally 2 years it was closed. Almost all the daycare center in India. So especially in our case, 95% of, if you go to any daycare center, 95% of employees are women. And also the main purpose of daycare is to provide employees, women employee can go to the work and we can take care of the kids. But unfortunately, during the last 2 years, it was completely closed. We could not get any support from the government. Apart from that, unfortunately, any charge, GST is 18% on all the daycare centers. And our end users are parents, they cannot take any input credit. My humble request to you is, please consider either if you're not able to make it as a zero or exempted category, at least reduce the GST rate from 18% to lower rate, so that the benefit can be passed on to the parents, whose kids and everything. That is a humble request. As a finance minister, as a first woman defense minister, as a finance minister, probably can look into that one and consider as a request from entire daycare sector, madam. Thank you.
Namaste. My name is Sharmila Vanikar. I am from Paramount Pilatus apartment. It's related to RWS. There is a lot of discrimination against apartment holders by BBMP. I know this is not your area, but I had come for RWA event. Even for taking small permissions, they harass us like anything. And apartment owners, mostly they are genuine taxpayers. We are upper middle class people. We don't go into this thing, but it is like mafia kind of thing that we are facing. Especially when the RWA starts, there is a lot of problems that we face. It is really like, if I'll tell you, you'll not believe such kind of this thing we have faced. So I know you are not the right person, but maybe if you can convey this to BBMP officials, that some of the things, some of the regulations, they can make so that it will be easy for us. Every year we have to bribe so much. Every year we have to pay so much for getting simple things. Like these are all legal things, but still we have to struggle so much for that. Thank you so much.
Good evening, madam. Good evening, sir. This is Samira Bharadwaj. Namaste. Thank you for giving us a voice. Lived abroad for several years. Returned back for the good for my kids' upbringing in this culture. Bought an apartment. Coming from a top class builder where I bought an apartment, and necessarily you started hearing everything about how we as home buyers are going through the horrid situation. Being intellects, having so much of achievements we have done, the way we go through the challenges and just to get our home and get to have all these things is a big challenge. I certainly want all of your attention to make sure that the home buyers' interests are taken care. Most important submission also I want to put forth is RERA, right? RERA has brought in a lot of good points, but then the implementation of that is really, really a challenge, right? And for that, I would also like to bring about one request is, we would need a empowered, competent authority defined and the office bearers installed so that the home buyers get to have a rightful association formation under the right act, land conveyance is taken care, and uphold the rights of the home buyers. That's my submission. Thank you so much.
Namaste, madam. I'm really grateful for this opportunity, rare opportunity, to see you and talk to you and to Sudhakar sir. My concern is about RWAs of villa community. Where, you know, a lot of people have come back from many residents in these societies, they arbitrarily turn their residential plots into commercial plots, despite having, you know, preventive clauses in the sale deeds, association bylaws, preventive clauses in the association bylaws. They don't care about anything, anybody. They go into JVs with builders and they want to, you know, turn the whole place upside down by commercializing residential plots. I just wanted to, you know, draw your attention to that. How can RWAs be empowered to stop these such residents from doing such arbitrary work? Thank you so much.
ಆತ್ಮೀಯರೇ, ಕ್ಷಮಿಸಿ, ನಾನು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಇಡೀ ವಿಶ್ವದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯನ್ನೇ ನಂಬರ್ 1 ತಂದಿರುವಂಥ, ಇಡೀ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರವನ್ನೇ ಇಡೀ ವಿಶ್ವವನ್ನು ಕಣ್ಣೆತ್ತಿ ನೋಡಿರುವಂಥ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕವನ್ನು ಪ್ರತಿನಿಧಿಸಿದಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೃದಯಾಂತರದಿಂದ ನಾವು ಈ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದವನ್ನು ಗಮನಿಸ್ತೇವೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಈ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸುಧಾಕರ್ ಸರ್ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಯಾವ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತು ಏನೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವತಃ 2 ಸತಿ 3 ಸತಿ ಕರೋನಾ ಆಗಿದ್ರು ಸಹ ಅದನ್ನು ಇದು ಮಾಡಲಾರ್ದೇ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಎಂಥ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದಂಥ ಸುಂದರವಾದಂಥ ಕಲ್ಪನೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇಂಥ 2 ಮಹಾರ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶ ಇನ್ನೇನೂ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಮೇಡಮ್, ನಂದು ಎರಡೇ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದು, ನಾನು ಹಳ್ಳಿ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ಲಿಂದ ಬೀದರ್ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಇವ್ರದ್ದೊಂದು ಅಬ್ದುಲ್ ಕಲಾಮ್ದೊಂದು ಇದಿತ್ತು, ಪುರಾನ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡಿಂಗ್ ಅರ್ಬನ್ ಅಮ್ಯುನಿಟೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ರೂರಲ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ರಿವರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಬ್ಯಾಪ್ನವ್ರು ಏನು ಪಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಈ ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುವಂಥ ಅತ್ಯುನ್ನತ ಸಿರಿಧಾನ್ಯಗಳು, ಸಾವಯವ ಕೃಷಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ಆಟ ಪೀಠಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಬನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಳವಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರದಿಂದ ಏನಾದರೂ ಉತ್ತೇಜನ ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಅದೊಂದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ವಿನಂತಿ ನಂದು. ಇನ್ನು ಎರಡನೇ ವಿನಂತಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ನಾವು ಈ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅತಿಯಾದಂಥ ಆ್ಯಂಟಿಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಯೂಸ್, ಅತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಇದ್ರದ್ದು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಲ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಚೆಕಪ್ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಗಳಿಸಿರೋ ಹಣ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರೀ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟ್ಲಿಗೆ ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ಆಯುಷ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋಲಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್ಸ್, ಅಲೋಪತಿಕ್, ಹೋಮಿಯೋಪತಿಕ್, ಯುನಾನಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಇದು ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು BM ಹೆಗ್ಡೆ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಥರ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆನ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತಾವು ಒದಗಿಸುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಥಳನೂ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂಥ ವೈದ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂಥ ಸವಲತ್ತುಗಳು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಯಾರಿಟೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಪದೇ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋದು, ಮಾನಿಟರ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗೋದು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅನೇಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಸುಂದರವಾದ ಒಂದು ಸಹಜವಾದಂಥ ಬದುಕನ್ನು ನಾವು ನಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದುಕುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಈ ತಾವುಗಳು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕೆಂದು ಹೃದಯಾಂತರದಿಂದ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತೀನಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮೇಡಮ್.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, madam. I am president of All India Taxpayers Association. My question is, government collect tax, but government will not pay any pension to the taxpayers. My first request is, those who are paying taxes should be secure. The government should provide the security for those people. That is, let us suppose a person starts paying tax at the age of 25. He pays at the age of up to the 60 years. whatever the proportionate of taxes that has been paid, in prorata to the tax paid, government should start paying pension till his demise. Upon demise, whatever the pension that is payable to the demised person should not be transferred to the any of the kith and kin. That should be transferred to the general revenue of the government alone. And secondly, after the age of 60, there will be a close relationship between the illness and the age. So in some cases, government children will not take care of them. For example, 3 days before, one newspaper announcement has come. A person was there. He was living with his wife, 2 children. He was living with his second son. Second son died, and daughter-in-law threw them out. Then they came to the first son. They also did the same thing. They have written a death note stating that what are all the anomalies that has faced. Accordingly, consumed poison and died. If that person pension should have been paid, then automatically those people should have been leaved. But government is taking one way. Government is collecting taxes only, but in no way they are protecting the interest of the taxpayers. That should be taken care of by the government till the person who is paying the taxes. And secondly, what is going on? For example, I have pen in my pocket, I can throw it, but I cannot take pen from his pocket and throw it. The reason why that I am quoting the example is, see, the taxpayers' money is being used for distribution of freebies by these political parties. With the result, taxes are being increased time and again. On the other hand, poverty will also increase. Taxes are more. The living rate will become more. This should not happen. In fact, once I have been interviewed with the bank about the fixed deposit scheme. I said, after the retirement, the person will keep the money in fixed deposit to see that at least something will help for his revenue.
Sir, request you to please be brief, sir. Please be brief.
Pardon me?
Brief, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think this is coming under the income tax net. Better I say, request you, madam, please consider to provide the social security to the taxpayer first and to avoid freebies.
I am P.C. Rao, Chairman, Labour Committee of KCCI. I have one street, 86,000 crores unpaid amount is there in ESA. Recently, we got the news that that amount will be used, going to invest in the stock market. I don't know how safe it is. If you use it...
I don't know where you got this news from. I don't know.
It has come in the paper.
No, it may have come in the papers. I don't know anything about it.
Okay. But it can be used for the employees.
I don't know anything about it is what I'm saying.
Second, can there be a more investment on the tourism, madam? Tourism is the part which is more important for every country. We have lesser investment, lesser promotion activities in tourism, madam. That is my request.
It's one major part of this year's budget.
Hello, good evening, ma'am. Hello. Good evening, ma'am. It's very nice to meet you here. Pleasure with our Health Minister Sudhakar sir. Ma'am, I like the initiatives by Narendra Modi ji from the past 15 years. We respect Bharatiya Janata Party. Ma'am, but the main concern is commute to local buses and metro. The main thing is we have path holes in our area. When it's raining, it's difficult to commute in path holes after raining. After coming to our office, it is difficult to reach home on time. So I request, we committed to BBMP also, but they didn't listen to our words. So I request you that the path holes will be removed so that we can commute easily to office.
All right, fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. So unfortunately, few of the complexes in Bangalore still work under the old scheme called share schemes, which is not a freehold properties, which is really a big loss for exchequer for the government, because the one complex which I am representing is got almost 1,000 houses, where instead of it's not a freehold property, it's in the form of shares. So wherein the government, in case they register the entire property, each flat would fetch in a revenue of around 10 to 12 lakhs in terms of stamp duty. And on top of that, a promoter still being in the loop, still he's got a lot of his antics and he's been harassing the occupants. So we are termed as a tenants rather than as owners, in spite of paying through our noses. This, I guess, were only few complexes in Bangalore are there. Probably these were few in Mumbai too. But this is not a good scheme. Of course, not promoted by the BJP government. Maybe the previous governments have done it on an experimental basis. Can this be corrected, ma'am? Will be a lot of relief to the residents.
Good evening. Dear Finance Minister, my name is Binu Wilson. I just have 2 points here. Point number 1, even though our country had made huge progress in digitalization, we home buyers feel that we are a minority because the Zamindar system still exists. In my apartment, the builder has mortgaged the land to a financial institution and he has done a sale deed registration. Now we are in trouble whether he's paying the interest or not. And we are not sure whether these companies will send us a notice. So I request the finance minister to get some law. I don't know. I'm just, as a layman term, I'm speaking. And the second point is the money laundering activities, which is happening within the apartment under the cover of Karnataka Society's 1960 Act, which is not supposed to raise even maintenance. But builders and association people who have colluded with the builder is using to complete the project. And in my case, I stood up for my rights and they have disconnected my power water. I went to police station. Police did not help me. Finally, I went till the commissioner. I did not get any because it's a civil matter. Finally, I had to go to the court to get the injunction order. So these are the things happening. So I don't know. I'm just raising my request here. If you can take it up with the respective authorities. Thank you, Minister.
Good evening, madam. Good evening, sir. Very thank you for coming over here to listen to us. There are only myself, Subramanya, a chartered accountant. I have a couple of points. Number 1 is on the employability. I understand, considering the size of our country and the population, the government can consider forming an entity which has a participation from major employers from diverse fields, science, commerce, and all the fields, and have the thought leaders in it, influencers, professional associations like Karnataka State Chartered Accountants Association, whom I represent, and this association will conceptualize and come up with a training course which will basically help the students bridge between their education and employability. Now, also being a chartered accountant practicing, I understand I should minimum take 8 to 9 months for a BCom graduate to be trained so that he can be in a particular deliverable position. So considering this, if this gap between education and employment can be bridged, then it will be a great thing for the young students who are from the colleges and who can take it up. This is first thing. Second thing is on the financial literacy. So I'm from a smaller town, Chikballapur, where our Sudhakar sir is the person representing us. So basically what I see here is there is people go pray for these schemes and other things and they don't know where to invest. So for a large crowd of middle income class group who are not from a very well educated background but doing business per se, they need some financial literacy. So also consider something on creating some financial literacy and so that they don't fall prey for few schemes. I know RBI is working on various things, but yes, more to the grassroots level, there is a requirement of something to come up to help to give real benefit to these traders. Last but not the least, I'm sure everyone of here agree that when you go to a registration in a stamp, in a registrar office, we come back with a slightly bad experience for the reason that we have to sit there for 2 to 3 hours and there is something which someone has to really spend to ensure that the things go on time. So everything we are moving towards digitalization. It is certainly possible for the government to consider to start introducing technology into the registration process with things being in place, Aadhaar and biometrics and things. Probably that is something that the government should certainly consider to make it a really nice experience for, that is really something which anyone will feel for having bought a property. That is something which I would like to bring it to your notice. Thank you.
Madam, this is Ravi Shankar from, I'm a member of BVSS, Bharatiya Vidya Salakar Samiti. I have a couple of suggestions concerning the agriculture sector. This is for farmers, essentially. agriculture sector in India is plagued historically by structural predicaments and moonshot problems for various reasons. States have to do their job, central government is doing its job, etc., etc. But I feel, since you are representing the Ministry of Finance, I believe at the confluence of the art of organizing farmers and the science of farming, a lot of solutions are there. For example, now recently we have a Ministry of Cooperation or Cooperatives. The Honorable Home Minister is holding the charge. There's Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Then we have a lot of initiatives under Startup India. I believe time is ripe for policy shifts, especially as the Ministry of Finance has a common thread which will link the Ministry of Cooperation. This is how you organize farmers. Minister of Agriculture, which is in charge of ICAR and all the R&D, etc., policy initiatives, and the startup initiative in India. If Ministry of Finance can sew a thread among all of these three and come up with specific initiatives which will link agri-tech startups, for example, with FPOs, FPCs, cooperatives, and collectives, I believe this can go in a long way to help smallholders, millions of smallholders in India. Thank you, madam.
Good evening, madam. I am a home buyer and I come from an apartment.
Sir. Keep it closer, keep it close.
Yeah, my name is Abhijit. I come from an apartment. I'm a home buyer. So I have an issue actually when we have some issue and some grievance, when we take it up with the concerned department, there is no action taken. Most of the departments are not coordinating with each other. Like there are various departments for an apartment. There are Pollution Control Board, BBMP, BESCOM, and so many other departments. There is no proper coordination among the departments. And for an OC, there are various clearances required from different departments until an OC is issued. So, and when there is a grievance raised by a home buyer, it is not addressed. It is only limited to issuing notices. There are no further action taken, and it goes on for years together. The home buyers are forced to take it up the matter with the court. And so I would really request that there should be some kind of a proper coordination, and there should be some general guidance or directions from the governments to the various departments, because departments are equally empowered. There is no need for a home buyer to reach to the court, which is very expensive. So departments should on their own take action, and there should be vigilance. So I would really request that this issue is taken care of, so that people are not forced to take matters to the court. And at the department level only, matters are sorted.
Yeah. For a change, I think being at 63 years of age, as a citizen of this India, we have been living because of the greatest contribution by our Prime Minister of India in allowing and trust having posed an Indian company to produce vaccination. I think we all should agree that we have got a real life. The life for the next remaining life has been given by Prime Minister of India. That's very positive, madam. And as being Chadakund, I've been seen that several countries have gone for bankrupt. Being a woman, struggle and seen the challenges. You brought the entire economy back to 5th largest economy. Very happy. I've been paying taxes, but I'm not asking. But being in civic and health and this one, many Ayushman Bharat have been covered the below poverty line. I've also been connected to several hospitals. I've been also in the social organizations. Now of late, the middle class is not afford to get the medical facilities. Prime Minister of India recently has been dedicated one free medical college, free medical hospital under our Sudhakar sir, Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai. When we collect 33 lakh crores, why can't we just, Government of India can think of providing the free medical treatment for entire citizens of this country? When a Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai can provide the medical college free of seat, cost, and free medical treatment, why not Government of India with every state? I think we are very happy that Ayushman Bharat, if we bring for middle class, we appreciate our madam efforts of day and night. I think the country is safe hands. The remaining life, I think we should not expect anything. We should contribute for the nation development. Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am. I am Ashok Srivastav from Hyderabad. I am a retired managerial executive and a writer from Hyderabad. I had been executive member in RA of my colony at Hyderabad for 2 years. My suggestion is that there should be an apex body for all RAs of any cosmopolitan cities to monitor and control over activities of different RA working in the cities. because every RA handles lakhs of money given by residents as maintenance. And there are so many complaints of misuses of this sort of money. That's my, thanks for your consideration and so kind of you for your.
Madam, I am Sanjay. I am requesting the tax on resale of the flats, because every time we make the same percentage of tax, even though irrespective of the age of the building. I request for the resale of the flat, the tax should be reduced, sir, madam.
It's not weighted to the inflation?
No, madam, see.
The tax is not weighted to inflation? The additional value that you realize is weighted to inflation before it is taxed. There are quite a few tax auditors here. They'll be able to tell you, tax consultants. So every time you sell, it is weighed on to the number of years the flat has remained as a property, and also in that set of years, the inflation rates, they're all, reconciled to that fact. So it's not a blind tax.
I agree, madam.
The age and the inflation are indexed.
But actually, when we see, when we buy or sell, no, the tax rate looks on the higher side, because
tax always looks painful. I agree with you. I agree with you.
Namaste to Honorable Health Minister and Vanakkam to Honorable Finance Minister. I want to raise, I'm Swaminathan, a chartered accountant who have come back to India after working abroad for a number of years. See, I want to raise an issue which has been ignored by state and central governments for the past 70 years. And it is touching upon every aspect of the economy, individual livelihood, and productivity, so many other things. That is traffic problem in the country. How it affects is FDI gets affected, loss of livelihood because of death, and the economy gets affected because of huge amounts of foreign outflow due to imported oil, wastage of fuel, and civic problems, rage, so many other things. So both the central government and the state government should work up, take this issue seriously, because it involves direct affecting of so many aspects of, like Make in India. A lot of foreign companies don't come because they see the traffic and run away. FDI gets affected. Millions and millions of dollars can be saved by way of savings in fuel, because what we do in 3 hours abroad, here it takes 8 hours of running. Imagine the loss that goes into the fuel that is being burnt unnecessarily. And direct impact will be, if I have not calculated it, but it will be in terms of tens of thousands of crores on a yearly basis, if you calculate the millions and millions of vehicles that are plying the country every day.
Now, last question. This we have run out of time. If you want to hear remarks from the Honorable Finance Minister, we'll have to end after this last question. Last question.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. I am a secretary of the RWA, Tata New Haven in Tumkur Road. I am also a member of Consortium Apartment Association, Yashwantpur. Many of our friends from RWAs have already raised a lot of issues and a lot of clarity which are supposed to come in has come. I have only one request to the state government of Karnataka. For registration of RWA, there are 3 ways in means we have to register. One is the deed of declaration and bylaws. There is a clarity has to be given by the state government. Deed of declaration and bylaws has to be registered by so-and-so act, like a KAOA 1972. And then the second comes the deed of conveyance of the common area land. It has to be done through the act, a specific act to be given. And the third point, when we are registering the RWA, there are a lot of confusion whether the RWA has to be registered under KAOA 1972, or it has to be registered under KAOA 1960, or it has to be registered under KSCA 1959. Though there are a lot of verdict which was there in the past, and also the court cases have been given a verdict clearly which has to be registered. Whenever we go as a common man, as a representative of association, to register, we will take a legal opinion from the legal bodies. The legal bodies, they give the opinion, you registered under 1960, or you registered under 1959, or you registered under 1972, like that. A lot of confusions are there. Because of that, the builders are taking the association for the ride. We wanted the state government to specifically mention that deed of conveyance has to be done in so-and-so act, deed of declaration and bylaws has to be registered under so-and-so act, and association has to be formed and registered under so-and-so act, like that. That is a request, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Radhakrishna Adiga from Bangalore. I have two issues. One is automobile industry is lifetime tax is made 15 years. None of them keep the vehicles for more than 15 years or whatever. So you can reduce the lifetime tax to at least the life of the vehicle by 10 years and reduce the cost of the vehicle so much people can also bear. And even the ecosystem will be very good. The dust and other thing all be reduced. Second question is, as a hotelier, we are facing a lot of problems with the 10 rupees coin. So we have been requesting with the Reserve Bank. Reserve Bank has no solution at all. All the bank currencies is crores and crores of rupees of 10 rupees coins, whereas every day we have a problem with the public fighting for not accepting the 10 rupees coin. This is for almost 15 years we have been facing. Please look into this and help us to do the nude.
Thank you all for the wonderful suggestions and questions. Sir, whatever after the event you can.
Regarding tourism policy, Madam had raised, Madam, one aspect which has escaped tourism policymakers and hospitality industries, education and tourism. Hello. Excursion, whether it is botanical excursion, wildlife tourism, visit to historical places. There is no infrastructure for students, affordable, staying facilities, food facilities. Only Tamil Nadu, Kodaikanal and Ooty, they have had such a tradition right from British days. But next time when you are going to modify the tourism policy, please pay attention to promoting educational tourism.
Okay. Sir, thank you. That's it, sir. Sir, quickly.
My name is Dr. Gurunath, highly respected authorities on the dais and the before dais. My only one simple question is clarification regarding this. Delivering the justice to the DRT and DRAT is causing a lot of defects. At the same time, delay. It is causing unnecessary financial burden to the all NP account holders. When the role of the both advocates is over, there is no reason to pending there whatsoever reason. Just for 5 crores rupees for 3 months, it costs 18 lakhs rupees additional interest. Hope some mechanism should be altered so that justice can be delivered without harming the financial position of the parties. Thank you very much. Sorry for
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your suggestions. Now, without any further ado, we would like to please invite the Honorable Finance Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, to deliver her remarks. Slight change. We would like to invite the Honorable Health Minister, Dr. Sudhakar ji, to deliver the presidential remarks. After this, okay, ma'am will talk, please.
Good evening, and thank you very much for this very candid discussion, not so much discussion, candid putting across of your views. I can see that there is a widespread concern because there isn't much different between one resident welfare association and the other who spoke on issues bothering them. So I can see a widespread concern about very critical issues relating to housing, particularly in a multi-storied kind of a facility. And they relate to very substantial issues of ownership, of how much you can invoke the ownership, and who invokes it at what point, and how are the liabilities transferred from the builder who's in between the landowner and the buyers of the apartments. So these are not small issues at all. And if it is so widespread, it means it is across the board. It's not as if one buyer or one seller or one builder who's rogue builder who's done something wrong, but largely these are issues prevailing like gray areas where people who are smarter game it for their advantage and leave the rest of them high and dry. So I'm sure Dr. Sudhakar will be listening to all this, and at the state level there can be certain, steps taken to redress these grievances, which are legitimate grievances of individual home buyers, for which of course I'm not the person to sit and work on it, but I certainly will convey this worry which I've heard today across, because there was a time when in Mumbai, when apartments were growing at a very fast pace, these issues used to dominate. But I guess the Maharashtra government over the period of several years have little by little and incrementally addressed these issues, that largely apartment buyers don't suffer these fundamental problems which have been voiced here. So I'll assure you that I can certainly convey the angst that exists here and hope that some work can be done by the state government. But at this point we are only listening to you, especially with an election. It's not for me to give you a word or give you any promise. It is going to have to be gone through by the state units. But from the essence of what you said, anything from our side, from the Government of India, I'll go back to see if I can sit with the Urban Development Ministry, and in the light of what I've heard in Bengaluru, see if there are things that central government will have to do. But there are largely state governments which have to do. But I will sit with the Urban Development Ministry and see if there are any legislative or legal or rules-driven reforms that we can do, so that all citizens of India, not just relating to one state, can benefit from this experience that I've heard here in the city. I randomly recollect the issues other than the resident welfare, about how there should be more financial literacy and awareness to be built, and a cursory reference was made to the RBI. RBI is doing extensive financial awareness business, and for people who are staying in far-flung areas where RBI may not be physically present, the National Securities Depositories Center, the one which is holding all stock market basic data and so on, they have also wonderful digital financial literacy programs, which is available for anyone who wants to know what it is. It is graded gradually. You can move from one to another. So, in fact, I was surprised to hear it from a chartered accountant. I would have thought, and that itself raises a question to me, which I need to go and search for answers. If a chartered accountant tells me that financial literacy has to be built, more awareness has to be brought in, and these are the sources which are, only the RBI was referred to, the other things have not been mentioned, it tells me that there is a gap between those who are doing it and even a chartered accountant, who I would have thought will be the first source of contact for anyone to go and say, will you please tell me about how I need to know about my finances? Would you please educate me? And the chartered accountant can say, I can, but I'm professionally tied up, but I can suggest 2 different places from where you can do online courses. So I would tell the RBI, and I would tell the Indian Chartered Accountants Institute also to first of all tell their own members, the various institutions which are promoting financial literacy, and have chartered accountants, much before they get their certification, to recite a list of those institutions which are giving financial literacy, or else they don't get certified. I just find it extremely difficult to gulp this. I find it extremely difficult. You're trained as a chartered accountant and given a certificate to bring in literacy as well as certify authentic accounts. And I don't blame the gentleman who raised that issue, but if that's the case, I fear for chartered accountants' information source. They're very well qualified to certify, but probably even they don't seem to have channels to get information. So I would go back to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India to say, excuse me, would you please do something about telling your own members what are the sources of financial literacy? And also tell the RBI to write to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India to say, I'm doing it, would you please recognize me? So, sorry if it sounds a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I'm worried for chartered accountants. So please, let us make sure that you are better informed, and I shall tell both the Institute and the RBI and the NSDC to get to writing to your institutions to say, please copy this and send to each one of your members, so that we fall back on chartered accountants to tell us A, B, C, D sources of financial education for us. There are also universities nowadays who are undertaking financial literacy course as part of their regular curriculum. So that can also help. Other than that, of course, there were specific issues which were largely related to taxation. I take your points. If there's anything that I can do in terms of going back and working out, I'll try to. But there was this one concern saying urban transport, investments are going away when they see our transport. We need to do something about a very genuine concern. What is the Bengaluru-Mysuru 6-laning? What is the outer ring road? What are the extra railways which are being provided even for urban circuit traveling? What is the metro? What are the immense flyovers? What is the superfast trains which are coming in? So work is happening. I concede it's not enough, you need lots more. But if we have to catch up with, let's say, some decade which was lost in only corruption, and no fundamental work was done, we'll have to do the catching up all over the country. And if we feel this, and genuinely we feel it, I'm not blaming anybody. Just go see what it is in the Northeast, where rapid work on improving connectivity, infrastructure, digital, rail, road, airways, everything. Unbelievable work is happening, but even that's not sufficient, because nothing has happened except for saying you're very remote, and because you're so remote, people who go and invest there should be given some subsidy because there's no road reaching you, and if they place it there, even for their primary inputs from Kolkata to, let us say, Guwahati to Shillong to Impal to any other place, Kohima, will cost lots more, but because you're locating there, Government of India will give you the subsidy. But you didn't think that collection of subsidy could have made a better road. You know, we kept doing a lot of things to calm down in short term, but didn't think in terms of medium and long term. If only you brought them into the connectivity network of this country, you didn't have to give the subsidy and they would have been honorably doing their own job anyway. So I'm happy to say that the need for good urban infrastructure and rural infrastructure is being felt by each one of us. And that is what Prime Minister Modi is rushing with. Roads everywhere, rural housing, airports. Second World War airstrips are being improved, enhanced and brought into the Udaan scheme, which may not be very glamorous port, But at least it will have some aircrafts coming, aircrafts going. You can get connected to the nearest big international airport. So it's all being done now. More needs to be done, we will do more. That's a different story. But today, the residents of India, residents of any one area, I'm happy feel that. We need it. We need more, better connectivity. We wouldn't have dared ask the governments 10, 15 years ago saying, hey, at that time, one road for a village would have been a big scene. But I'm glad we are improving, we are moving forward. So I don't know if I missed out on any one particular point other than the specific individual issues. But I'll certainly take this conversation of today very seriously, particularly on the resident welfare association grievances which are across the board. So thank you for giving me this opportunity and for this candid discussion. I thought I answered you. I thought I answered you. Part.
Any amount of roads that are constructed, 4 lane, 6 lane, 8 lane, if people can't reach from point A to point B in the shortest time, it is not going to produce the result. So most important thing for that is to change the driving license issuing, and it should be made across the country. Not 90% of the people who drive don't know. Even the testing people who are supposed to be police, they don't know the traffic rules. They only know red light and no entry and helmet. Beyond that, I asked them what is this line for. They said they don't know. Roads are constructed wrongly, not with the idea of these traffic rules. So it is not just building tens of thousands of crores worth of roads that's going to solve the problem. What will solve the problem is giving proper licenses and ensuring these licenses, the police are knowledgeable enough to check these points. That is most.
But this point wasn't mentioned in your earlier question for me to have answered it.
Thank you, madam. Now, would like to invite the Honorable Government of Karnataka Minister of Health, Dr. Sudhakarji, to deliver the presidential remarks.
I'm not delivering anything. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮಾತು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಂದು ಮನೆ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಒಂದು ಮಹಿಳೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಆ ಮನೆಯ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಪ್ರಗತಿಯನ್ನು ಭಾಳ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಇಂಥ ದೊಡ್ಡ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ನಾರಿ ಶಕ್ತಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಕ್ರಿಯಾಶೀಲ ಸಮರ್ಥ ವಿತ್ತ ಸಚಿವರಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ನಿರ್ಮಲಾ ಸೀತಾರಾಮನ್ರವರು ಈ ದೇಶದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮನೆಗಳ, ಇಡೀ ದೇಶದ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಸಮರ್ಥವಾಗಿ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇವತ್ತು ಇಡೀ ವಿಶ್ವನೇ ಭಾರತದ ಕಡೆ ನೋಡುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಸಂಗವನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಂಥ ಒಂದು ಧೀಮಂತ ವಿತ್ತ ಸಚಿವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಮಧ್ಯೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಸಲಹೆಗಳು, ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಅನುಮಾನಗಳು, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ವಸ್ತುನಿಷ್ಠ ಉತ್ತರಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. Pertaining to certain civic communities that was raised by RWA, I'm not the concerned minister, but however, I would definitely communicate, I would like to convey all your issues to our Honorable Chief Minister, who is holding the Bangalore development portfolio as well, along with urban development. Most of you have mentioned that there are some issues to seek certain kind of clearances, permissions with various stakeholders like PCB, BBMP, police, fire, and so on. So we believe, and Karnataka is one of the pioneer states in creating or in coming up with a single window clearance system for industries, online Bhumi portal, and in fact, we are the most efficient state in bringing out the GST, delivering GST as was desired. So we were so much prepared. So that is why if you observe our GST collections, I think we are number 2 in the country today. And we should all be proud that this state, and especially Bangalore being the growth engine, which contributes at least more than 50% of our the total revenue coming only from Bangalore. Bangalore being the nation's startup capital, IT capital, and also research and development's capital. We have some more hats. And coming from a garden city, we want to preserve this brand Bangalore, and especially our government under the leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister Basuraj Bommai. We are very committed to ensure that this city is going to be an absolute safe city, beautiful city, and one should really be proud of this city. If you see, we have received the highest rainfall in the last 2 years compared to what we can compare for the 7-8 decades earlier. So that is exactly the reason why we could not immediately do the roads. But in the last 2 months, if you have observed, every neighborhood, every area has come out with a new roads. And today we don't see much potholes. I hope you all agree to this. And similarly, only 1 or 2 spoke about the topic that I handle, healthcare. As Indians, we should really be proud of the Ayushman Bharat health insurance, assurance scheme. I haven't seen this kind of an insurance or assurance policy anywhere in the world. A person who is from below poverty line is assured of minimum of 5 lakhs in a year. And today, I would like to say this state with a 6.5 or 7 crore population, we have 1.1 crore families who are enrolled as BPL families. Though the government of India notifies that there are only 63 lakh families who can be under the bracket BPL. And apart from that, this is the only state where we pay 30% of the total cost incurred by APL families for their health related ailments and charges. So that is why we call this scheme as Ayushman Bharat Arogya Karnataka. So it is a comprehensive scheme that is mooted, that is given to every Kannadiga of this state. We have already distributed about 1.5 crore cards of this, a smart card, which doesn't cost anything. Even the printing costs were given by Government of India. So I really acknowledge, I really thank our Honorable Prime Minister who has assured the healthcare, the global standards of quality healthcare to our Indians. And similarly, Karnataka, we have come out with 438 new concepts, Namma Clinic, which will cater to the people who are living in vulnerable areas in urban locations, slum dwellers, migrants, laborers. So these are the people who are not having enough primary and secondary healthcare facilities. So we understood this and we have conceived this idea of coming out with new clinics where right from the entry till their investigations, reports, everything is free of cost. Even the user cost is zero here. So we have already, all the 438 Nama clinics are functioning in the state of Karnataka. Apart from that, the woman is getting, we have a special care, special clinics for women, where we have called it as Ayushmati Clinic. So we have sanctioned about 250 clinics exclusively for women-related ailments and issues, where there is one specialized doctor visiting the clinic, being in that clinic for the entire day. In a week, there are about 5-6 specialists who will address the issues related to mother, pregnant women, lactating women, and the child. So this is also a new initiative that we have done. And this state government is very compassionate and empathetic to the people, especially in healthcare. That is why we have increased our dialysis cycles from what it used to be in earlier governments, about only 30,000 cycles per day. We have increased it to 1 lakh cycles today. And similarly, we have ensured and propagated the organ donation system in a very big way. We had only one organ retrieval center in entire state. But today we can say in the last 2 years, we have established 20 organ retrieval organ centers today. Similarly, we have many more new initiatives in the healthcare. I thank Madam Shri Nirmala Sitharamanji, who is the chief guest for this interactive session with the chartered accountants, RWS, and hotel owners and association and FKCCI. And I thank my team also, who is assisting me, who is strengthening the manifesto committee, because we are trying to understand the problems of the common man, and we want to listen to what your requirements are, and based on our financial strength, we are going to release our manifesto. We will be very pragmatic, we will be very practical, we will see what is really feasible and practical, and we will come out with the realistic manifesto. We will not do a political kind of a manifesto. We will not appease with freebies. I'm thankful to one of you who said freebies should be avoided. Unless we do that, we can't grow. We don't want to become another Sri Lanka, another Pakistan. People fighting for 1 liter of oil, people fighting for 1 liter of milk. So I thank one and all. And
just because you're taking care of health, can I take this opportunity to suggest all of you to visit Jan Aushadhi Kendra at least once?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're a very conscious citizen, very senior citizen, but there are others who I have a feeling may have not visited.
Yeah.
So I'm requesting you.
Madam, we are the second highest Jan Aushadhis that we have established in the entire country, madam.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I admit to a certain prejudice when I say this. I admit to a certain prejudice when I say this. I'm not sure if many of you all have gone, even once, bought anything, and realized how, for the very same taxpayer, the cost of medicine has come down to 1/3. And particularly for people who are in lifestyle kind of sicknesses.
Come down by 1/3, madam, not to 1/3, come down by 1/3.
No, it ranges, madam is right, it ranges from 30% to some medicines.
Decimal points and all that. I'm not talking about decimal points here, I'm talking about Andaz figures. So please do go. It might help for us to get a view, because next time I meet you all, I'll get a view of what is happening in the Jan Aushadhi Kendras, and after all, Karnataka government has been actively promoting more and more Jan Aushadhi Kendras. Generic medicines do have an advantage in that the costs will come down. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
We would now like to, ma'am, any other thing later we will take the personal remarks. Ma'am, right. Ma'am, right after this we can do it, please. Please, right after this we'll do it. I would request Vijayalakshmi madam to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening to everyone. I am Vijayalakshmi and from the organizing team from this event. First and foremost, I thank our Honorable Finance Minister, Madam Sitharaman, for taking time to interact with all the representatives of various professional bodies today. And this is Suhas showing our token of appreciation for Madam today. I also thank Dr. Sudhakar for his presence here and addressing the queries when required. And this is Puneet showing our token of appreciation. I thank our organizing team, ably led by Dr. Samir Kagalkar, Karan Javaji, Vishwanath Bhadji, Puneet, and Gangadhar for success for this event. I also thank all the professionals from various professional backgrounds and representatives of independent organizations for posing thoughtful questions and making this event an engaging one. I thank the media who have been here for this event, and I also thank the Karnataka State Police for their immense support. And last but not the least, I thank the staff of Taj West End who have been extremely patient and extended their support in every possible way. I thank everybody for your presence and making this event a successful one. Thank you so much.